My mom gave away my childhood home to her new husband. Now she's begging me for help after he vanished with everything. I hadn't set foot in my hometown for years, not since life took me away and memories became easier to keep at a distance. But recently, I decided to make the trip back to see my mom. A part of me was genuinely excited, especially at the thought of stepping into the home where I grew up, the house my father built with his bare hands before he passed away. That house wasn't just bricks and wood. It was the center of my world, the place that held the echoes of my childhood laughter, the smell of my dad's cologne, the walls that watched me grow up. I thought I was going home. I had no idea I was walking into a stranger's house. The first sign something was off hit me before I even opened the front door. My dad's garden, the one he'd nurtured with so much care, was completely gone. The roses that used to bloom with color and the lavender bushes that made the air smell sweet were nowhere to be seen. Even the little apple tree I used to climb as a kid had been cut down. In its place stood a half-built deck, soulless and unfamiliar. I walked slowly up to the door, already unsettled, and then I saw it. Our last name was no longer on the mailbox. In its place was Miller, my mother's new husband's name. Here's some background you'll need to understand the shock. Just 3 months earlier, my mom had remarried. It all happened so fast it didn't even feel real. She met this guy, Steve, online. Within weeks, they were inseparable. At first, I tried to be happy for her. She'd been alone for so long after my dad died, and if she found someone who brought her joy, who was I to get in the way? But something about Steve rubbed me the wrong way from the beginning. He was younger than her by about a decade, full of charm and flattery, but it all felt too smooth. Like he'd rehearsed it. His arrogance was thinly veiled beneath that charm, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't who he claimed to be. Still, I went inside, trying to keep an open mind. But the moment I stepped into the house, my heart dropped. It didn't look like our home anymore. The warm, cozy atmosphere I'd grown up in had been replaced by something cold and sterile. All the family photos were gone. The smiling faces of my parents, my younger self, the pictures of birthday parties and summer barbecues, erased. In their place hung abstract art that screamed Steve's taste, not my mother's. The furniture was new and minimalist, and the recliner my dad loved, the one I used to snuggle into as a kid, was gone. It was like someone had scrubbed my father out of the house. Like he never existed. When I asked my mom what was going on, she just laughed lightly, brushing it off with a casual, "Steve wanted to make it feel like our home." Our home, as if the decades my family spent there had never mattered. I tried to hold back my emotions, not wanting to ruin our time together, but I couldn't bite my tongue. I told her it felt like she was erasing my dad's memory, and it hurt. That's when she dropped a bomb on me. She had transferred the house into Steve's name. Just like that, my jaw dropped. I kept waiting for her to say she was joking, that it was some legal technicality. But she was dead serious. She said Steve told her it was easier that way, since they were married, and she agreed. Just like that, my dad's house was now legally his. My heart shattered. This house wasn't just some property on a deed. My father had built it from nothing. He poured concrete with his own hands. He stayed up late installing windows. He bled, sweat, and sacrificed to give us a home. And when he passed, he left it to my mother and me. Now it belonged to a man she'd known for barely a season. I asked why she didn't talk to me about it before making such a huge decision. Her response? "It's my house, I can do what I want with it." The sting of those words was deep. I wasn't trying to control her. I was trying to protect what my father left behind. The rest of the visit was tense. Steve was there, acting like the king of the castle. He talked non-stop about how he wanted to improve things. Tear down the old shed to make a man cave. That shed was where my dad worked on his projects. Where he taught me how to use a wrench. Steve's ideas weren't about improving the house. They were about erasing it. Gutting its soul. By the end of the visit, I couldn't stay silent. I pulled my mom aside and pleaded with her. Told her I didn't trust him. That something about Steve felt wrong. She looked at me like I was being overdramatic. "You don't understand what it's like to be alone," she said. I left that day heartbroken. I wanted to cut ties. But she's my mom. No matter how bad it got, I couldn't just walk away. Still, the pit in my stomach wouldn't leave me. I knew something was wrong with Steve. He was too eager to erase my dad, too quick to claim something he hadn't earned. A week later, I got the call. My mom was sobbing. Steve was planning to sell the house. Her voice cracked as she begged me for help. She confessed that since the deed was in his name, she couldn't stop him. No legal power, no control. She was helpless. And suddenly, so was I. That was the beginning of the nightmare. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mom, the same woman who had so confidently told me it was her house, and that she could do whatever she wanted with it, was now calling me in tears, begging me to help her stop the very thing I had warned her about. I sat there on the phone, my chest tightening with a cocktail of emotions: heartbreak, rage, helplessness. She told me Steve had started making calls to real estate agents, already getting the paperwork in motion. He hadn't even discussed it with her. One day she woke up, and the for sale sign was on the lawn. Just like that, the home my father built was on the market. I wanted to scream. How could she not see it? How could she not see the man she married didn't love her? He loved what she had. I asked her why she hadn't protected herself legally. Why she didn't insist on keeping the house in her name or at least co-owning it. Her voice cracked again when she said, "He told me it was just paperwork, that it didn't matter whose name it was in." I thought he loved me. I nearly dropped the phone. This wasn't just about property anymore. It was about betrayal, manipulation. She was tricked, romanced, swept off her feet, and convinced to sign over the one thing that still connected us to my dad. And now it was slipping through her fingers. The worst part? Legally, there was nothing she could do. She had willingly transferred the deed. There were no prenups, no contracts, nothing tying Steve to her beyond the marriage certificate. And since he now owned the home outright, he didn't even need her signature to sell it. I told her to find a lawyer immediately, to see if there was anything at all, that could be done. But deep down, I already knew the answer. The law doesn't deal in sentiment. It doesn't care that a man built that house with love and sweat, or that my mom made a mistake out of loneliness. The law only saw names on paper. And my mom's name wasn't on that deed. And then it got worse. 3 days later, she called again, but this time, she wasn't crying. She was silent, hollow. I kept asking what was wrong, but she barely spoke. Finally, after a full minute of silence, she whispered, "He's gone." I asked her what she meant. Gone where? Did he leave for work? Was he at a friend's? But no, that wasn't what she meant. Steve had left, disappeared, packed up his things while she was visiting a friend and vanished without a trace. No note, no explanation, just gone. And not just from the house. He'd cleaned out her bank account too. Every penny she had was gone. Her life savings, her emergency fund, even the small pension she got monthly was rerouted. He had it all. She had nothing. I drove straight to her place, the house, even though it didn't feel like ours anymore. When I got there, she looked like a ghost of herself. Pale, trembling, her hands wouldn't stop shaking as she told me everything. Steve had apparently been planning this for months. He'd charmed her, isolated her, gained her trust, and slowly gained control of everything. Bank accounts, investments, and finally, the house. I walked through the rooms, every inch now feeling like a graveyard of memories. The photos were still missing. The couch was gone. Even my dad's old toolbox, something I was sure Steve wouldn't care about, was missing. He didn't just steal money. He stole our history. We filed a police report immediately. But the detective didn't sugarcoat it. Steve had used a fake name when he married her. Fake background, fake everything. They were now uncovering layers of fraud, but tracking him down wouldn't be easy. He was a ghost, a con man, and my mom wasn't his first victim. Apparently, there were other women, other houses, other lives ruined. My stomach turned. I wanted to find him. I wanted to look him in the eye and demand to know why. Why us? Why her? The house, meanwhile, was still in limbo. The real estate agent Steve had contacted pulled out after we explained the situation, but legally, it was still his property. We were in a twisted form of purgatory. My mom was terrified that the bank would seize the home, that she'd be evicted, that she'd lose the only shelter she had left. We went to court, begged for a temporary injunction, tried to get the house frozen while the investigation continued. And while we managed to stall the sale, it was clear that we were hanging by a thread. That night, I sat on the floor of what used to be my bedroom. The walls were painted a cold gray now, Steve's doing. But in my mind, I could still see the posters I used to hang, the drawings my dad pinned up. I broke down. I cried like a child. Not just for what we lost, but for how helpless I felt. My mom had made a mistake. A terrible one. But she didn't deserve this. She was just lonely, vulnerable. She wanted love and trusted the wrong man. And now, we were paying the price. She told me she wished she had listened to me. That if she could go back, she never would have married him. That she should have seen the red flags. That she should have known something wasn't right when he insisted on putting everything in his name. But regret doesn't rewind time. It just lingers, heavy and unforgiving. Now, she's living with me while the legal mess unfolds. She has nothing left, no money, no home, not even her name on paper. I've taken on the role of caretaker, legal advocate, emotional support. I'm doing everything I can to protect her, even though part of me still feels that sting of betrayal. The truth is, I'm angry. Not just at Steve, but at her, too. For not listening. For being so desperate for companionship that she gave away everything my father worked for. But despite the anger, I can't turn my back on her. She's my mom, and if I don't fight for her now, who will? It's been months now, and every day still feels like a fresh bruise. The courts are slow. The investigation into Steve, if that's even his real name, is ongoing. But the detective warned us not to hold our breath. He's done this before, and he's good at disappearing. My mom's bank accounts were drained through layers of untraceable transfers. The house, though, that's still in limbo. We've filed a civil suit in hopes of reversing the deed transfer, claiming fraud and undue influence. But every lawyer I speak to has the same grim expression. It's a long shot. My mom wakes up every morning with guilt clinging to her like a second skin. She keeps saying, I just wanted someone to love me. And I get that, I really do. But it doesn't stop the ache in my chest when I walk past old pictures of my dad and remember what he built. What she gave away to a stranger. The betrayal wasn't just financial. It was spiritual, like someone came in and torched the last physical piece of my father's love. We've moved everything of sentimental value out of that house, just in case the courts don't rule in our favor. Every photo we could find, every tool of my dad's that wasn't taken, every piece of furniture my mom didn't even realize had meaning until it was almost lost. We've packed it into storage or brought it into my home. My place is cluttered now, but I don't care. I'd rather live surrounded by ghosts than let one more piece of my father's legacy slip through our fingers. My mom is different now. Quieter, humbled. She no longer talks about starting over or second chances. She talks about survival, healing, redemption. She wants to volunteer now, help other widows not make the same mistake. And I support her, even though the bitterness hasn't fully left me. Maybe it never will. And me? I've learned that protecting your family sometimes means standing up to them when it hurts. That love isn't just about being there when it's easy, but about holding the line when everything's falling apart. I'll keep fighting for that house, for what it represents, even if we never win. Because this was never just about property. It was about memory, about loss, about how a single decision, made out of loneliness, can unravel generations of love and sacrifice. So if you're reading this, if you have a parent, a loved one, someone vulnerable in your life, don't stay silent. Don't ignore your gut, because by the time you're proven right, it might be too late, and the home you thought you'd always have to return to might already be gone.